I am Ann Esquivel Redmond. The beginning of the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference is a little bit of a long story, but I'll do my best to kind of put it all in perspective. I had some challenges growing up. I mean, I had people telling me I wasn't capable of doing things, or because of my Hispanic last name, I would not be hired. Um, just different things like that. And it was in preparation for a regional conference that was happening in Sacramento, California. Invited to attend this conference, and it was a 3-day conference that we attended. And at that conference, we were able to attend workshops and just meet and listen to the challenges that women had growing up. And it was basically women of Latin culture. We came back to Cheyenne, and I said, how can we make a difference? What can we do to change that? And so we met over several times to figure out what and how we could do this. So we decided grade 5 to 12. So we started out by, getting in touch with educators, our superintendents in the different school districts, and doing a statewide conference. And I know at first, by the middle of September, we decided to have it in October. We probably had like 10 students registered, and people were wanting to cancel it. My philosophy was I don't get caught up in numbers. And I felt like if we changed one life, that would still have a domino effect. And so I was very stubborn and said, no, I'm not canceling the conference. Students that came from Jackson, Sheridan, Casper, Rawlins, and Cheyenne and other communities. I remember the next day getting an email after the conference from one of the counselors and saying on the ride back, she had never seen the girls with such a high and had never heard them talking about going on to higher education, and that they were so excited, and that's what they were talking about. So I knew it was something that we should try to do annually. We have now volunteers with the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference who have even graduated from college that attended the very first conference and are now giving back. So that's another impact that has been made because of the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference. So I feel the impact that the students have goes to their family, their schools, their communities, and eventually the state of Wyoming. I know one young lady at the very first banquet, and she walked in, and her first impression was to open mouth say, oh my gosh, there's so many of us. My hope is that we can truly be the equality state. And something I tell even our students that we interview for the Hope Scholarship, I tell them not to let other people define who they are. And if you want to see change, you have to be part of that solution.
My name is Dr. Cecilia Aragon. I'm a professor in the Department of Theater and Dance at the University of Wyoming. I'm also the executive director for the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference. I was introduced to Ann Redmond, and Ann Redmond said, you really need to give a workshop to the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference. You need to inspire them and encourage them to embrace their cultural identity. And so that's when I started working with the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference, and that's how I got involved first as a lecturer. And I conducted several workshops, and of course I met several people and several mujeres, several women that were involved at that time. And in 2016, Ann Redmond asked me to serve as the executive director. So when I first started with Wyoming Latina Youth Conference, we had about 125 participants, And now that it's been here as an educational pipeline program here at UW, we now have close to 300 participants throughout the state of Wyoming. And we have about 20 counties that are represented.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Laura Perez. I'm from Jackson, Wyoming. I was actually born in Mexico, but my parents brought me here when I was 1 year old with my two other older siblings. So we've been here in the United States for about 22 years now. So I grew up here. A little bit background story. When we first came here, my dad actually worked in the potato farms in Idaho. He was our main source of income. While my mom worked as a housekeeper in one of the hotels in Jackson. She wasn't paid very well, but she had to work there for the hours because she had to take care of my siblings and I, and not spend any more money on childcare either. And so I grew up in Jackson, and the reason why I got involved with the Latina Youth Conference because I was a participant for the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference in 2015. That was my senior year of high school. I got involved, and it was just out of a whim too. Our high school has a club named Latina Leadership, and it was a very small club. It was just most of us Latinas, just because we didn't want to go home after school, and it was a good way to get away from our parents too. And so one of our advisors, she suggested for us to go to the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference that year. And it was very hard for us to go just because our high school at that time wasn't very supportive in financial stuff. So we actually had to put in our own money to register for the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference. And that was a little bit harsh on my parents too, because they didn't understand why they had to pay that fee. We went to the Latina Youth Conference in Cheyenne, and it was a really fun experience being with all my friends and with other different girls from other places in the state. And I learned a lot. I personally don't remember a lot of the workshops, but the one that I do remember was the self-defense workshop where we learned how to box. That one probably put me out of my comfort space so much. I was very nervous back then. I was very insecure like any other high schooler, but that workshop just helped me really put my power into something else. So that was really fun. Fast forward to starting college at the University of Wyoming. I met Dr. Aragon as well. She was one of my first professors here, and one of my mentors now, as everybody else's mentors here. And so she saw the potential in me, and so every year she kept on asking me if I wanted to come back to volunteer for the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference, and I of course said yes. The impact that I've seen that the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference has is seriously incredible. Girls leave this conference feeling so empowered, so good, and thinking in their mind like, wow, maybe college is for me. Especially now that the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference transferred to the University of Wyoming, it gives them that little glimpse of college life, and I think most of them are very excited when they come to the University of Wyoming.
My name is Ada Mushati, and I actually went to the very first conference over 20 years ago. I was in 7th grade, I believe, 8th grade, I think. Yeah. And so my little backstory is my parents are both from Mexico. Both of my parents came to the United States as migrant workers, and they worked the sugar beet fields up in Montana. And much like, everybody else, it's like they wanted a better life for their family, and to provide things that where they lived, it wasn't possible. So we were always I was very lucky to have parents that always encouraged me to further my education, because they believed that education was very much like the center of everything. So they're like, you're going to go to school. We don't know how, but you're going to college. I was like, okay. But my very first experience with the Latina conference was actually, like Lauda said, in Cheyenne. Even though it was only a few girls, it was cool to see that in Wyoming there were other girls that looked like me and had very similar experiences. And every year, like, it seemed to get bigger, and speakers came from all over the place. And again, like, these women that were speaking at these conferences were like all in positions of power or like had, some form of education that I was like, oh, that would be cool. Or, oh, that would be cool. Things that I hadn't like one-on-one like experience. Going somewhere and being able to speak Spanish and like people actually knowing what I'm saying was like really cool, other than with my parents. So yeah, and then when I graduated high school and I came to UW, I got roped in by Dr. Aragon to help, which of course I was more than happy to because of just the impact that it had on me. And I really I truly believe in the motto that they have with like the power of choice and like giving these girls the opportunity to like be exposed to something that they might not have otherwise been exposed to, and like not necessarily like say you have to go to college, because we all know college isn't for everybody, but knowing that they have that choice, that they know about it, and they themselves can make that decision as to whether they're going to further their education or not.
Trisha Martinez, and I was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming. My family is from northern New Mexico, and we migrated to Wyoming for employment opportunities. My role in participation in the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference was in the capacity as a workshop leader and theatrical performer. I am a sister of Sigma Lambda Gamma, a Latina-based multicultural sorority. And as an undergraduate student at the University of Wyoming, we were asked to host a workshop that would focus on self-esteem. I also performed theater alongside Dr. Aragon. It was an honor to be invited to encourage the youth in this capacity, and even more rewarding to be a part of the magic and beauty that happens each year at the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference. This experience in growing up Latina in Wyoming really compelled my efforts and passion to educate and create spaces of belonging for young women who need to recognize the value of their identity, history, and experiences.
So hi, my name is Taylor Perea. The first conference I attended was about 2 years ago, actually, with my mom and her boss, Patricia Kramer. It was kind of a really unique experience for me. It just also piqued my interest, and then my mom started talking to Cece about it, and that's actually how I got segued into getting involved with the Wyoming Latina Youth Conference and actually applying for an internship while attending college here. I'm actually a junior right now, and I'm getting my psychology degree, and then after my psychology degree I hope to apply for medical school and actually become a psychiatrist. I'm one of the faces that shows them that they could also attend college and have these opportunities here, and also just be a mentor for them.
This academic institution is not a welcoming space for any person of color. As many of the young girls already mentioned, there are very few of us that are entering in higher education, and there are very few of us that look like each other and that have similar cultural backgrounds. So the purpose of WLYC is to be the front person and the welcoming committee for most of these young Latinas coming into the space. We build community in a variety of ways. First of all, we start with the parents and the families, because that is the foundation of our culture. We have to build trust with families. We have to build trust with the caregivers of most of these girls, and we have to build trust with the communities that they come from. From there, our philosophy is that they come here to the University of Wyoming to experience workshops about their cultural heritage, about their cultural arts, but also to experience workshops that they may not feel comfortable. We try to introduce new material that most of these young girls probably would not get at their high school. We build partnerships with the robotics club here at UW, and we introduce them to technology. We introduce them to engineering techniques and methods, and we also introduce them into finance and business and entrepreneurship workshops so that the girls can build their skills and can also and possibly dream about what their career might look like if they go into these fields. Building healthy relationships, and also other workshops that deal with suicide prevention. And sometimes those workshops are really difficult, and because some of these girls live in those situations. But what we try to do is give them skills to survive through these difficult and challenging times in their lives.
When we have the opportunity for mentorship, we want to see these girls reach their fullest potential, right? And what we know we want to pass on to them and just carry it on. Like Dr. Aragon has mentored all of us, and she continues to send me resources and opportunities. So I think that's important to point out, is that this is more than just an event. It's a lifestyle.
I think for me, a lot of my discomfort came when Cece asked me to step up and take more of a leadership role. I was Cece's assistant a few years ago and helping putting together the conference. And to be in a position that I had to make decisions, I had to, steer other people in like directions that we needed them to go. It was so uncomfortable for me because I had never been or done anything like that before. I think it was almost a moment of realization as well, to just feel like in a panic the whole entire time because I was doing something I had no idea. I felt like I had no idea what was going on. And then at the end, being like, holy cow, like I can totally do this. I can totally pull this off. So I think that was like one of the biggest situations for me. That experience is like unlike anything I have ever gone through, and probably, ever will.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback from Ada, for me, being in a leadership role was very uncomfortable. But Cece trusted me to take on that role. And that role was being a peer mentor to these girls. And it's really hard because you're scared, like, what if they don't look up to me? Like, what if I do something and that can change their whole entire life, right? But that experience being a peer mentor is probably one of the best experiences I've ever lived through, just because I've been, volunteering with the Latino Youth Conference since my freshman year. These girls sometimes see me every year consecutively, and they're like, oh, you're still here? You're still here? That's so great. And I think like them seeing me, volunteer every year just like motivates them more to, pursue their dreams of doing something. One year, I was by myself as a group leader with the senior and junior girls. There was about 30 to 40 girls in that group. And I was scared because I had to be with them. I was the only, group leader there. And I was scared that they were going to, go against me, run away, all those stuff, high school girls, right? And, but no, they were very attentive. They listened to me. They looked up to me. They were asking me questions. The girls that were very interested into applying to college, they were asking me like, oh, like, how do you apply? How do you pay for college type of question? And I don't know, that was just such a good feeling that they looked up to me, being like, wow, she made it here and she's still continuing. So maybe I can do it. It's one of those good feelings that I had.
Being able to participate in this program has taught me to embrace my culture and just get my questions answered by asking my family members of where I'm from, and also just recognizing that I am one of the only Latinas in my field, and going on further, and how important that is for our just for all Latinas. Suicides, early teen pregnancies, or just hardships they go that are common within our culture. Mm-hmm. And being able to make that easier for them to talk about, and being able to overcome their obstacles, and just be an example for them as also a person to come to already in college and already making those strides for myself as well, and showing them that they could do it as well.
I think for me, if I were to, put a huge billboard out and guaranteed everybody, all the Latinas were going to see it, I'd be like, it's nothing that is worth it is easy. Just keep that mentality, keep moving forward. Even if it's tiny steps forward, it's still moving forward. And know that you can do it. It's going to be rough, but you can do it.
My motto is being uncomfortable means you're growing. So being in situations that make you feel uncomfortable, yes, at that moment, it makes you feel, shy, uncomfortable, bad. But in the long term, you have to remember that you're growing to be that person that you want to be. For example, for me, getting an internship at a law firm, it was very, and it's still very uncomfortable working at a law firm with no experience whatsoever, not knowing any law jargon just yet. But I know that I'm growing in that office, even though I go into the office uncomfortable every single day, not knowing what I'm doing. But I know I'm learning and I'm growing, and I know I'm going to become a lawyer someday. I don't know when, but someday.
Just live your dream. I think when you think about how we're all created with different skill sets, talents, and passions, and we have to believe in them and follow them so that we can live our dream.
So my billboard is going to be ELLAS, ELLAS, educating Latinas in leadership and academic success. And everyone, let's show the mujeres power. ELLAS, ELLAS, ELLAS,
ELLAS, ELLAS,
ELLAS.
The Leading in Wyoming podcast is brought to you by the Wyoming Community Foundation and the Dragisevich Foundation. Thank you for your support.